So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our weekly class. This week we are studying Parashat Tzav as well as Purim. Tonight's donor for tonight's class is graciously sponsored by Elise Portman in memory of Tzvi ben Edel. May he have a neshama, may his neshama have an aliyah. And thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much, Elise. You're on with us. Okay, we're going to start with Rabbi Leib's great insight on Purim. So this week when I was studying with Rabbi Leib's nephew, Rabbi Israel Meir, he says, you know what, let's do something different. Let's open up on the volume on the holidays instead of opening up the volume on the Parsha, because there's a lot of very special gems in that volume as well. I said, let's do it. So listen to Reb Leib's first piece on Purim that he has in his book. It's a mind-boggling, it's like an earthquake of a novelty, of a chidush that really we can apply to our lives, and in merit of the holiday of Purim, hopefully we'll be successful at it. So the concept is as follows. There's a very famous question that we have on the Megillah, and that is, why is God's name not found in the Megillah? If you go from the beginning to the end, you're not going to find Hashem's name. You may find every time it says HaMelech, the king, there are those that interpret that means Hashem. There are multiple reasons given why Hashem's name is not found in the Megillah, or it is, but it's hidden. Reb Leib says, I want to offer you my own answer, and he gives a fascinating one. He says, if you look back in the book of Genesis, there are many clear pisukim, many clear verses that tell us that God intervened in a clear, open, outright way to save our patriarchs, to save them from those who wanted to harm them and pursued them. And he goes and he gives some examples. Do we remember that Hashem sent a plague to Paro when he took Abraham's wife Sarai? I'll share the verse with you. Genesis chapter 12, verse 17. Vainaga Hashem et Paro negaim gedolim vet beto al devar Sarai eshet Avram. And the Lord plagued Paro with great plagues as well as his household on account of Sarai, Avram's wife. So that's the first account. Firstly, we see that Hashem intervened for Avram Avinu. Also, when Avimelech took Sarai, also Hashem didn't let him come close to her, and him and his people were also plagued. Rashi explains that the plague that they had was so severe, they couldn't even go to the restroom. All of their holes in the body were completely closed, like a major constipation. Very sick. It was clear that Hashem was protecting Avraham, and it was evident and known to all. The same was for the next generation, Reb Leib says. When it comes to Isaac, all the nations feared and honored Isaac on account of his father Avram. And Avimelech was also warned his people not to touch Rivka, Yitzchak's wife. And the same seems to continue for the next generation, for Jacob, when Jacob was being pursued by Lavan, his father-in-law. Hashem came to Lavan in a dream and warned him not to harm Yaakov and not even to try to insist that he returns back home with you. So we see Hashem clearly making open miracles in order to spare and save our patriarchs from those who pursued them. There is, however, Reb Leib says, one time where Hashem doesn't intervene at all, doesn't come to rescue one of our patriarchs. Before I say it, does anyone know when it was? This is great. This is absolutely amazing. It was when Yaakov came to meet his very own brother, Esav. When Yaakov faces his brother Esav, Hashem did not save him or send any plague to Esav, or appear to Esav in a dream warning him not to bother his brother. He left them alone. And on the contrary, Jacob sends his brother with gifts and messengers and prepares himself for war. And still, after all that, the Torah says he was still scared. Reb Leib wants to know, why is it that Hashem did not take care of Esav in a similar way that he did for Paro and Avimelech? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, every time he jumps, Hashem jumps to save them. This time, when Yaakov is facing his brother Esav, no, he doesn't come to his rescue. Why is that? So, there's a very deep reason. And the truth is, you may not like what we're about to say, maybe not politically so correct, but that's the Torah. We say it as it is. And that's how Reb Leib always presents it. He says it as it is. He says the reason is that there are two ways we relate to Esav. There's the way we act and treat Esav in an outright and open fashion. And then there is the way we know it as the truth deep down inside between us and ourselves as Jews. Again, there's a way we act towards him in an outward fashion. And then there's the way that we truly deep down know as a real truth. And he explains the two. When it comes to the rock solid truth, we know that God chose that only Jacob, only Yaakov, Bnei Yaakov, will be the successors of Yitzchak, and not Esav. How do we know this? It's based on how the Talmud teaches us the following verse. The verse is in Genesis 21:12. It says, Vayomer Elokim el Avraham, and God said to Abraham, Al yira beinecha lanar v'alamatecha, be not displeased concerning the lad and concerning your handmaid. Kol asher tomar elecha Sarah shema bekola. Everything that Sarah tells you, listen to her voice. Ki veitzchak yikare lecha zara. Because for in Isaac will be called your seed. Rashi, based on the Talmud, says it should have just said Ki Yitzchak yikare lecha zara. It will be Isaac that's called your child. Why is it Be Yitzchak, the bet? That bet, explains the Talmud, comes and teaches us from within Isaac. Not all of Isaac is going to be considered Abraham's seed. Rather, only a part of Isaac's children are going to be considered Abraham's seed. Which part? Jacob and not Esav. That's how we know that deep down the truth is that only Jacob is considered a true descendant or a successor of Abraham and Isaac. And if someone, therefore, makes a statement that I'm not going to accept any or benefit in any way, any pleasure from a descendant of Abraham, that only includes Jews. It does not include Ishmaelites, and it does not include descendants of Esav. The Nachmanides writes that any time a descendant of Esav does a circumcision, it doesn't count as the way when a Jew does, because they were not part of that covenant, that command to be circumcised. They're not really considered a descendant of Abraham. They may be biologically a descendant of Abraham, but the transmission from father to son as successor went from Abraham only to Isaac, not Ishmael, and from Isaac only to Jacob and not Esav. And then it continued from Jacob to all of his children. So according to the halakha, we know that Bnei Esav, the descendants of Esav, are not related to us as part of our family. They're separate. That's the real truth, Reb Leib says. But now, when we're in front of a Bnei Esav or in their presence, we are to call them our brother. Reb Leib brings multiple sources in our Torah, multiple verses, that refer to Esav as our brother. But he also brings a proof from Rashi, how Rashi explains a very, very beautiful midrash, that Moses sent messengers. This is while they were traveling in the wilderness. Moses sends messengers to the king of Edom. And he tells the king of Edom, we are brothers. And the fact that we're brothers, well, have a little pity on us, because we took the brunt of the exile that was decreed upon our forefather Abraham. We took it. Really, it was supposed to be on all of his children, and therefore, cut us some slack. Let us pass through your land. From there, Rashi, it seems to be saying that the children of Esav are included, because Edom comes from Esav. So from this Rashi, it seems like all the children of Esav are also included as being descendants of Jacob. How could Moses claim that they're brothers? So Rav Leib says, to them, to the children of Esav, we tell them that they're our brothers. But between us, we know they aren't. And why would we do this? It kind of seems a little bit deceiving, but not. In order to preserve the peace, we call him our brother. Because there's nothing more endearing and brings two people close together when you say, hi, my brother, come, my brother. You're appealing to a very special aspect of a relationship. And when Isaac clearly told Jacob that he is the only inheritor of the land of Israel, he told him quietly. He did not tell him in front of everybody. Because the fact that we are the children of Jacob, the only true descendants of Abraham and Isaac, is a secret that we have amongst ourselves in order to preserve peace, in order to not cause unnecessary jealousy, and so on and so forth. So this is going to be what this concept is how Reb Leib is going to answer our question. Reb Leib says one more thing before we answer the question. He says we have to at times recognize that there's a difference between the simple understanding of a verse and the deeper meaning of what our sages are trying to imply on a verse. And sometimes they don't always fit. And he gives an example. Listen to this. According to the basic terminology of the verse, that through Isaac will be your descendant when God said it to Abraham, the basic understanding is that we're excluding we're excluding Ishmael. But Esav would be included. Again, God told this to Abraham when he was supposed to send away Hagar and Ishmael. And he's telling him, don't worry. Through Isaac will be your descendant. Isaac, that would mean both of Isaac's children. So the simple interpretation of that verse is not like the way the Talmud said it. Rather, it's coming to exclude only Ishmael. From the Talmud, however, the verse comes and tells us that it's also excluding Esav. Why the difference? Because to all we are brothers, the children of Jacob and the children of Esav. But the truth is something which is kept specifically to us. And we have to know that there is a very big difference between the children of Jacob and the children of Esav. And that we're not to intermarry and intermingle. We're supposed to preserve the peace as much as possible. But we're different and we're not the same. Now, this can come and help us understand why God did not help Jacob vanquish Esav. Why did Jacob have to go and prepare for war, send gifts, send messengers? They were brothers. And the truth is Hashem already blessed Isaac. Take a look at your screen. This is in here. Chapter 26, verse 4. Virbeti et zar'acha kechochavei hashamayim. This is God telling to Isaac, and I will multiply your seed like the stars of the heaven. V'natati lecha v'natati zar'acha et kol ha'aratzot hakel. And I gave your children, your descendants, all of these lands. V'itbarechu b'zaracha kol goyei ha'aretz. And all the nations of the earth will bless themselves by your seed. This verse is being said to Isaac, which is implying both Jacob and Esav, says Reb Leib. Zaracha seems here your seed to include Esav. Because Esav was included in Hashem's blessing to Isaac, Hashem can now not strike Esav down in an open and clear way. Rather, Jacob himself would be the one that has to overcome his brother Esav, his temptation Esav. As it seems from the very prophecy that their mother had before the twins were born. Take a look at your screen. Chapter 25, verse 23 in Genesis. Vayomer Hashem la, Hashem says to her, Shene goyim bevitnech, you have two nations in your room. Ushne leomim ima'aychi paredu, and two kingdoms will separate from your innards. Ul'om mil'om yematz v'rav yavot tzayir, and one kingdom will become mightier than the other kingdom, and the elder will serve the younger. From here we see ul'om mil'om yematz. Yematz means to be stronger, to overcome. We see that it was Hashem's intention from the beginning that Jacob himself would be the one that would have to vanquish and overcome his brother Esav and what he stood for without the aid of Hashem. With this introduction, Reb Leib now can tell us why Hashem's name is not found in the Megillah. Not even once. And this is because anytime there is a dispute or a fight between Israel and Esav, Bnei Israel and Bnei Esav, Hashem cannot get involved. He already blessed Esav. When he blessed Isaac, he blessed both his children. It's incumbent on the children of Israel to naturally overcome and beat Esav, including his grandson Amalek. And because of this, we see multiple times that Hashem did not perform a miracle as he did for other nations, against other nations for us. First example was Jacob versus his brother Esav. Second example was the Jewish people when they fought Amalek. Right after the splitting of the sea, or right after they received the Torah, which, again, it depends, it's a machloket, it's a dispute when Amalek came to attack. But when Amalek came to attack the Jewish people, Joshua led the Jewish people in battle, in a physical battle. They didn't have these famous wasps that Hashem would send and promised to send out in a miraculous way to all the Canaanite nations when they would conquer the land. Do you know, if you go back, if you look through our Torah, multiple times we see that et hatzirah yeshalach lifnechem. Tzirah is wasps, hornets. Hashem would send these hornets, these wasps, to go and attack their enemies in a miraculous way. It did not happen so for Amalek. Hashem said we had to finish the job off. Third time, Shaul is commanded to kill Agag Melech Amalek. And he didn't. Hashem did not intervene to make sure it happens. We know Shaul was supposed to do it on his own, and he didn't finish the job. Again, Hashem could not intervene there because it's the son of Esav. A fourth time, Mordechai and Haman. Mordechai, a descendant of Jacob, Haman, the descendant of Esav through Amalek. Hashem's name had to be missing and hidden from the Megillah, because even though we always believe Hashem is helping, which he is. We truly believe that. But it is mostly in a hidden way, in a non-obvious way, especially when it is against Amalek or any descendant of Esav. So the truth is we hear the Megillah in 30, 40 minutes, we zip right through it. But we have to stop and realize for a second that the story of Purim that we read in the Megillah spans over a 10-year period. For at least 10 years, the Jews were like at the edge of their seats, hanging, not knowing, will they survive? Will they not survive? Will Haman's decree really take place or not? No one would have ever said, oh, it was Hashem that saved the Jewish people, because it just looked like a political battle that ended with a Jew hater getting caught. The whole story of Purim isn't like Chanukah. Chanukah is an open miracle to all. Purim is hidden. Why did Purim have to be in a hidden way? This is the grand chidush. Purim had to be done in a hidden way because it was against Bnei Esav, the children of Esav, Amalek. And Hashem can't outright, in a miraculous way, intervene. We need to be the ones that overcome it. And this is why Hashem's name is not found in the Megillah. With this great insight, Reb Leib ends off with a strong piece of musar, a strong piece of ethical teaching, morals for all of us. He says, from the fact that we see that Hashem will not fight for the Jewish people against Esav, we learn an important lesson. Now listen closely. He says, just as there's a physical type of people that are Bnei Esav, there's also spiritual powers that are also Bnei Esav. Just like Jacob fought the angel of Esav, which was the Satan, we too, as descendants of Jacob, also have to fight the angel of Esav. Every single person has a Yetzer Hara, an evil inclination, that pushes them to sin. And our war is to win, to know that Hashem will not intervene. He won't get up and make those decisions for ourselves. We have to make that decision for ourselves, to have the fear of God, the love of God, and to make the right decisions. He will not push us in the right way. We got to do it ourselves. Reb Leib says that on a daily basis, we never should ever let our guard down. We have to go out and be ready to fight the Yetzer Hara and win. As soon as we slack, as anyone slacks, that's when he attacks. Reb Leib says the most important trait, and with this he ends, the most important trait that one needs to work on and to fight for is peace, shalom. The evil inclination will do anything in its power to ruin peace. So we need to fight for peace with all our might, Reb Leib says. And then he goes on and says, how do we know peace is the most important thing? Because when Bnei Israel are not in peace and in unity, they're weak. And this is how Haman, he ends up with this is how Haman characterized the Jewish people. He called them, take a look at your screen, the book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 8. Vayomer Haman lemelech Achashverosh. Haman says to Achashverosh, Yeshno am echad, there's one certain nation. Mefuzarum forad bin amim. They're scattered and separate amongst the people. All over your provinces of your kingdom. Mefuzarum forad means that they are not in unity. They're not in peace. They're in dispute. Reb Leib says that was the reason why Haman had strength on them. It was only when they united as one, when they all came together to pray together with a common grievance as one, and they all fasted when Esther and Mordechai decreed that they all should fast for 3 days. That is when Hashem finally decreed to remove the horrible decree that Haman made on Bnei Israel. So Leib is saying a very, very powerful point. He's saying, number one, anytime it's Bnei Israel versus a descendant of Esav, Hashem will not intervene in a miraculous way. Of course, he's going to help behind the scenes, but it won't be an outright miracle. Rather, we got to get up and fight for ourselves, overcome ourselves. That's what he wants from us. And even though today we cannot identify genetically as direct bloodlines who Bnei Esav are, we each have this Yetzer Hara that lingers within us that we need to, on a constant daily basis, overcome and wage war with. Because any single time we let our guard down against our Yetzer Hara, that's when he will fight stronger and unfortunately beat us. So it's a lifelong fight. It's a lifelong war. But there's great merit for it, great satisfaction and accomplishment for making the right decisions day in, day out. So may Hashem bless us in the merit of Leib Heyman and all our great tzaddikim and Mordechai and Esther, that Bezrat Hashem, Hashem will always give us the strength, the courage, the fear of Hashem, the love of Hashem to always fight that war, to fight for peace. And when we say fight, it doesn't mean cause a fight to win or cause a fight for the peace. No. It means to put all our efforts in to overcome any distraction or anyone who wants to intervene and destroy those things, those great things that we've built. Whether it may be ethics, morals, different standards, relationships, good habits, all those things we need to fight to keep, and we need to fight to make sure that it gets transmitted over to our children, the next generation. Bezrat Hashem, Amen.